Olá, olá todo mundo. Welcome everybody. We're super
Olá.
happy, olá, to have this info session. I think everybody's starting to connect. So let's start. I'm sorry for this short delay. Bem-vindas a todos. A gente está aqui muito feliz. I will speak in English for the greetings. We are launching with Projeto Paradiso, Spcine, RioFilme, and HBF, a new development scheme, a new initiative to support development in Brazil, which has been a core of Projeto Paradiso's mission. So we're extremely happy to have such strong partners for this brand new initiative. And the idea here is that there was a lot of curiosity about this new fund. And of course, so we will have some time to answer your questions. However, Tamara Tatishvili and Ayumi here from HBF will be presenting some materials about the initiative so that everybody's on the same page. And then we'll have a Q&A. We will try to make this info session fit in an hour. So without further ado, before we jump in, I would love to hear from our local partners who've been key and essential in making this initiative possible, namely Liara, the president of Spcine, and Leo, the president of RioFilme. So if you want to say a few words, and we will switch back to Portuguese just for that part. Então, acho que a ordem é falar ao Leo, da RioFilme, primeiro, e depois a Liara, do ponto de vista dos parceiros locais, para dar as boas-vindas e um pouco do contexto dessa iniciativa. Quer Léo começar?
Bom dia, obrigado, Josefine, e obrigado ao Projeto Paradiso por tantas parcerias aí, por levar o cinema brasileiro aí para o mundo e trazer o mundo para o cinema brasileiro, né? Eu sou Leonardo Ed, produtor, diretor há quase 30 anos, e hoje presidente da RioFilme, desde 1º de janeiro. Aqui temos o Maurício Irata também, que é o diretor de investimentos da RioFilme. E acho que quase todo mundo conhece, mas é importante dizer que a RioFilme ela veio há 33 anos atrás para substituir a Embrafilme, que tinha sido fechada, né, pelo governo Collor ali nos anos 90. E a RioFilme surge como uma opção para o desenvolvimento do cinema brasileiro como um todo, né? Na época não era muito um cinema regional, né? Você tinha cinema no Brasil inteiro e os investimentos eram pensando no nível Brasil. A indústria audiovisual cresceu e foi necessário repartir, né? Tomar algumas outras iniciativas para a gente poder desenvolver o país todo e todos os segmentos, né? Então, eu entendo que hoje aqui é um desses segmentos, né? Um segmento que a gente fortalece o desenvolvimento dos nossos projetos, trazendo uma parceria que vem do Projeto Paradiso, que faz muito, né, esse segmento, essa linha de atuação, com Spcine e RioFilme, que são duas parceiras. A gente acabou de voltar de Cannes, aliás, onde a gente assinou esse acordo, numa parceria inédita, né? Eu acho que eu posso chamar, né, Liara, de Spcine e RioFilme trabalhando realmente juntos e grudados, né, com stand grudado até, tão grudados que a gente não saiu do mesmo quadrado ali, pensando que é um caminho, né, de desenvolvimento da indústria e é o caminho que mais tem oportunidades de inclusão e diversidade de todo o país. Esse é um primeiro movimento, é o MVP, né, desse projeto. E aí a gente tem Spcine e RioFilme e Projeto Paradiso on board, mas a gente quer que isso aumente, seja para outros estados e outros municípios do país, seja para o governo federal, né? A nossa foto tem a secretária Joelma exatamente pelo compromisso do Ministério da Cultura de estudar, né, a participação na próxima etapa. Eu acho muito interessante dizer que o Brasil é um dos países que mais participou, né? Se não, é o país que mais participou aí nesses 35 anos do Hubert Bals. E eu, quando veio essa ideia, né? Eu mesmo, como Urca Filmes, como realizador, lá em 2002 ou 2001, um dos primeiros filmes que eu tive, que foi o Mamute Siberiano, em coprodução para Três Mundos, também foi viabilizado pela parceria com o Hubert Bals. Então, para resumir aqui, a RioFilme segue trabalhando firme aí no desenvolvimento do cinema e do audiovisual brasileiro, e acho que só com essas parcerias aqui que a gente vai para frente. Eu peço para todo mundo que está aqui replicar, multiplicar as informações, multiplicar as demandas e continuar apoiando aí essas iniciativas para a gente ter cada vez projetos mais longevos que tragam filmes aí, séries que impactem no nosso público. Agradeço muito a oportunidade e principalmente aos nossos parceiros, às nossas parceiras aí do Hubert Bals, que é sempre uma felicidade estar junto. Obrigado, gente.
Obrigada, Léo. Muito bom. Sim, de fato, lançamos essa iniciativa em Cannes, e foi um evento muito legal, de fato, contando com a presença da Joelma, secretária. Eu acho isso uma coisa importante ressaltar, que é a intenção de que isso aí, a gente está lançando um piloto, mas que isso cresça. Com também o que isso quer dizer de paciência com o momento, porque é só um piloto. Liara, quer dar umas boas-vindas?
Olá, bom dia a todas as pessoas. É muito bacana a gente poder estar hoje aqui falando desse projeto, né, que deixou de ser um projeto e está se concretizando, dessa parceria que para a gente é tão importante. A Spcine é a empresa de cinema e audiovisual da cidade de São Paulo, né? Diferente da RioFilmes, a gente já nasceu com essa característica de estar conectado, né, ao contexto da cidade de São Paulo, mas isso não impede a Spcine, de fazer essas articulações a nível brasileiro e também a nível internacional. Então, o Projeto Paradiso tem sido um parceiro da Spcine, acho que desde o início, né? Desde o início, estamos aí nessa interlocução com vários braços de atuação em conjunto. Essa conversa também, essa aproximação entre Spcine e RioFilme é algo que está nos orgulhando muito, então é muito bacana a gente estar podendo traçar de uma forma muito concreta essa aliança entre Spcine e RioFilme, que demonstra o quanto é importante essa articulação dentro do setor audiovisual brasileiro, esse fortalecimento das nossas ações, né? Porque juntar força é fortalecer as ações. E essa entrada, né, dessa primeira iniciativa que a gente está fazendo junto com o Hubert Bals. Essa conversa aqui começou o ano passado, durante a Mostra Internacional de Cinema aqui em São Paulo, a partir de uma provocação do próprio, né, da equipe Paradiso, de um painel que nós estávamos ali conversando e articulando. Foi quando eu conheci Tamara, e ali a gente começou a traçar o esboço do que seria isso que hoje nós estamos aqui em vias de começar a iniciar essa segunda etapa, sendo que a primeira etapa foi o anúncio e a assinatura do acordo lá em Cannes, e agora, então, estamos aí na expectativa de receber as inscrições, de receber os projetos, e já tendo um feedback muito positivo do setor audiovisual brasileiro. Então, eu quero saudar as nossas parceiras, a parceria com a RioFilme, Paradiso, Hubert Bals, fazer essa afirmativa também de que é importantíssimo que a gente pense que isso é um projeto inicial, um primeiro passo, que nós queremos que isso amplie, tanto para nós que somos os parceiros, quanto para, né, quem sabe, em breve, novos parceiros também. Então, é um trabalho que inicia, então, a sua segunda etapa hoje, aqui com todos vocês interessados. Então, esperamos receber em breve as inscrições, os projetos de todos, e que a gente possa dar vida longa a essa ação, porque depende da gente, mas também depende do setor, da demanda, né, da insistência, das cobranças, para que a gente tenha continuidade dessa parceria e desse trabalho. Então, deixo aqui a minha saudação a todos e que tenhamos aí um momento de esclarecimentos e que esse momento frutifique em muitos projetos inscritos.
Obrigada, Liara. E sim, somos parceiros desde os primórdios, então aqui agradecer também essa força que vocês sempre deram. E somos também parceiros do Hubert Bals Fund há muito tempo. Eu conheci a Jéssica quando a gente nem nome tinha, então realmente faz muito tempo que aqui a gente está namorando institucionalmente. É muito bom ver agora os frutos disso. I will switch back to English so our friends from the Hubert Bals Fund don't feel excluded. So now I give the floor to wonderful, wonderful Tamara and Ayumi, and I want to say again how lucky and privileged we feel. Hubert Bals Fund has been a partner of Projeto Paradiso for quite some time. We do have a partnership already in course. Actually, we have to celebrate the fact that this year again, a Brazilian project was selected at HBF, Stephanie Hitch's film, so it's amazing. And we have had over the course of the past 5 years that we've been together, many amazing Brazilian projects selected by HBF, so that's wonderful. And of course it's amazing that we can now expand on this love story between HBF and Brazil and make this happen. So without further ado, wait, eu tô aqui? Porque aqui tô signed down. Okay. I will leave the floor to Tamara, I guess.
Thank you very much, Josephine, and hello, everyone. It's always wonderful to meet great talent that Brazil has to offer, and a very warm thanks to all the partners of the scheme as well. I cannot speak the beautiful language that was voiced here up until this moment, and I will also try to be very short because this the main mission of this meeting today is actually to present the nitty-gritty details of the scheme that is coming up, which my colleague Ayumi will do in a little moment. But I would like to underline a couple of things before going into those details. First of all, I'm here with my 2 team members, Jeske, HBF fund manager, and Ayumi, who is our project manager for the for this project, as well as a couple of others. And I would like to say that this project, this pilot edition, would not happen if so many of you representing the partner organizations would not show what sometimes is very difficult for policy and funding organizations to achieve. And I was in São Paulo on not even a year ago when we started to discuss this topic, when all of us together with your lead, Josephine, and Projeto Paradiso have introduced the Impact Day, which was actually also the moment of inception when in many private business meetings together we started to say, okay, HBF and Brazilian talent has a huge history together. That's one. Second, Brazil is the country where historically HBF invested the most in the development. 2, now is the situation in the country where there are great leaders at many organizations that are public-private and that are really taking care of the policy and industry development. And we also at the Hubert Bals Fund are finding new ways of working together, because if you do not rebuild, push forward, the schemes tend to die out as well. And it was only in that week time that we started connecting with all of you, Leo, Liara, your teams, other filmmakers that are now online and others that are not. And today we can already say that we have launched the partnership, that we generated quite a solid PR around it already with different trades and press. And our teams, probably on behalf of all the leaders here, we could say that the team's done a great job to make this positive workflow and a good pilot program. So the idea today is to underline that the fund, which will open very soon, is of course based on the idea of the selective funding. So HBF will never go into an automatic decision making. So my colleague Ayumi will soon present the rules which will apply. What is wonderful is that there is an actionable activity. So as in any actionable activity, there will be a rule, and in a selective funding, some of you, dear colleagues, will be very excited to receive the funding, and others will be slightly disappointed because you will not be able to receive it, but that's the rule of a selective financing. So I would like to stress this out. And I would also like to follow up on what Leo and Liara both mentioned, as I understood, that it is just the beginning of something that we want to build as an ecosystem. This is not just this up to 9 development funds that we want to give out, but we also want to follow those projects more actively, try to enhance the visibility with our Dutch, but also European co-producing potentials, and go in steps. I think going in steps, being practical and pragmatic is very important. And as adults, we have to understand that some of us will be very happy, others less, but there will be a momentum for continuous momentum from a Brazilian cinema. And I think that this is our joint mission here, to be achieving on a mid and in a long run. I think with all that, I want to really thank you once again for being real leaders who do not only talk, my dear colleagues, but also really make things happen. We are very proud to be one of the first funds who has achieved this kind of partnerships with you. And for the actual presentation of the scheme, which still allows for time for our applicants, potential applicants, to reflect about, I'll pass on to my colleague Ayumi, who's done incredible job during those months together with our Brazilian colleagues to bring everything to the moment where it is right now. So the room is yours, Ayumi, to follow.
Thank you, Tamara, and thank you everyone again, and all you filmmakers, producers too, having joined us for this info session. I'm going to share my screen, and I'll ask you, Josephine, if you can confirm that it's well shared. Yes. Do you see it, Josephine?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so we talked briefly, and each of the partners have introduced the context and actually the changing moment in which this partnership became official. So this is pictures of our signature agreement in Cannes this year. And we also talked from different perspective of the long-term legacy that unites HBF and the Brazilian context, which actually took one of the first concrete steps during Mostra de São Paulo last year, where we celebrated both with an Impact Day, but also with the launch of a publication on HBF relationship with the Brazilian context, which were extremely successful, and somehow also gave us an extra reason and reason to continue on this very promising pilot edition of the HBF+Brasil. This is the team. You have been probably in touch with most of us, or apart. And I want to start with the concrete details of this initiative, and leave enough room for your questions. The entry point, let's say, from which we can start, of course, developing all the nuances and further details, are first, as the partners and Tamara also explained, we are here in a pilot edition, which it's the beginning of a process that we want to continue further, and the pilot edition also explains some of the criteria that are linked to it and are making the projects eligible or not. the focus of this pilot edition of this co-development initiative is first a focus on second and third film project by a director. I'm going to explain in the second slide what does it mean, like how do we count the track record of a potential filmmaker applying to our initiative, but you have to know that this is already the entry criteria. We have a funding a pool of 90,000 euros, which are divided in grants of 10,000 euro each. Also some of the geographical configuration of those grants will be explained in a bit. So translated in simple terms, where does the applicant and the filmmaker need to come from in order to be eligible for this scheme? The deadline for apply is the 15th of September. End of the day in the summertime here, and the application form will be available 1 week before, so from the 8th of September onwards. The HBF+Brasil webpage will have a link that leads you to the application form. You can be assured that the application form saves automatically, so if you are logged in and you want to submit in or start filling in the form in different waves, it's also possible, provided you respect the final deadline of 15th of September. So to further develop a bit on the eligibility criteria, we can talk one side, we can talk of the director, the other side of the producer, and then we can talk about some funding conditions, which I will outline in the next slide. So starting with the director, it has to be a Brazilian national citizen, and it has to have had a theatrical release of either his debut feature or his second feature, which means that the current project that he's applying, or she's applying, or they're applying to us, must be a second or third film project. We count theatrical release, but we also only count fiction projects. So let's say a director has filmed 2 theatrical release, of which, one theatrical release, which is a documentary. It is not eligible for this pilot edition, because either his debut or either the 2 films he has directed and has been released in cinemas needs to be fictional films. We are accepting fictional projects only, so not documentaries, but we are expanding as much as we can the fiction and allowing animation projects to apply to this initiative. So this is the major conditions linked to the director, and then we also have for this edition we have a compulsory production company that needs to be attached and needs to actually apply to the initiative. This means that it will be your producer that will materially filled out the application form available from the 8th of September onwards. Now we can go to what are the eligibility criteria concerning the financing side, the financial side of your project. We are still, and this is a dear focus to us, we're still allowing project with no financing confirmed, but we're also expanding the focus and allowing project with production funding confirmed to apply to the initiative, with the condition, however, that this production funding must not exceed the 20% of the total budget. This is a framework for us to keep focusing on the development support for your projects, and to make sure our funding is also impactful at the international level, giving you visibility. one further nuance to this financial condition is that if you have received development or production funding from any of the founding partners that are making this initiative possible, so Spcine, RioFilme, you are eligible to apply. And finally, if you had submitted your project to the 2025 development round and your project was rejected, no matter if in pre-selection or earlier in the process, you can apply to this pilot edition. However, this means that if you had applied to the development fund in any of the previous editions, you cannot apply to the HBF+Brasil this year. This is quite important slide because it explains the different geographical configuration that you can be linked to as a film, as a project with a certain director, a certain production company attached. And it's also important because where the director and the production company comes from also determines the amount of grants available in the final configuration. So we have to look at the final pool of 9 projects. We will have a certain amount of grants dedicated to certain geographical context. So I'll go one by one, and of course, I'm sure there will be question about it afterwards. We have maximum 2 grants available out of the 9 that will be for projects where director and the production company comes from Rio de Janeiro city. We're not talking about the state, and same likewise for São Paulo, we're just referring to the city. We then have, this is the point 2, we also have a maximum of 2 grants where the production company comes from Rio de Janeiro city, but the director is from outside of Rio de Janeiro city. Then we have a similar configuration, but in the context of São Paulo. So 2 grants where both the director and the production company come from São Paulo city. And then likewise 2 grants for a production company that comes from São Paulo city, but the director is outside of that city. And finally, and where I guess naturally most of the competition will lie, is that we have 1 grant maximum for all over Brazil, so where there are no geographical conditionality, but both the director and the production company can come from outside the cities of São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. It's also important for your expectation management because you can be assured that it will be a very competitive, of course, initiative. But already, if you belong to the last group, you already know somehow that the competition will be even more fierce, and it's important to stand out with your application and the previous works. So the guidance criteria, so the way we will assess your application form and then your project dossier, if you go to the next selection round, are very dear to us, and we follow them in slightly differently, but we follow them in all of our operations. First, the artistic quality and vision that comes out not only from the project, but also comes out from the previous works that you will attach to the application. We cannot stress more how important attaching the good previous work is. So it's not only choosing somehow the one that had the most successful festival circle, but it's also important to understand which previous works inform the best what I want to say with this project. So it has to match the ambition, or it has to make the reader understand what's the style that you want to implement in this project. Then we, of course, look at the financial feasibility in some way. Of course, we know it's a development initiative. So it's we're early in the process, but somehow having a producer attached and being a requirement for the application is an important element for us to assess how feasible the financial structure seems to be. Of course, we also look at how of the uniqueness of the story and how much how much it is original or is looking at a specific context of Brazilian life or Brazilian cultures, and that is something that will also inform our criteria for evaluation. And last but not least, we will also look at how appealing your project can be at the co-production, from a co-production perspective, whether we talk of national co-production or international co-production. Knowing, for example, that the 9 projects that will receive the grant will get automatically a very strong international visibility, which we want to make sure you can capitalize on in your next step of your financing structure. I won't discuss in detail, unless you, of course, raise the points in the Q&A. You have a detailed webpage on the HBF+Brasil, whether it's the project webpage or the frequently asked questions, which outline clearly which documents are required for the application forms and which documents are required for the project dossier. That said, of course, feel free to bring it up in the question afterwards. The main dates are outlined here. We go from when you can start filling out the application form. This is 8th of September. We have 1 week to complete and submit the application form, and then the selection round starts until the end of October. Just as a further context, so we have 2 rounds. The first selection round is what will have the application form as evaluation, as a material for evaluation, and then if your project gets to the second round, then it's then that we will ask the project dossiers. So from September to you have 1.5 months to evaluate the application form, and then the shortlisted projects in the end of September will be invited to send project dossier. Important nuance here is that it is non-negotiable. Of course, we look at emergency, we will evaluate on a case-by-case logic, but we have a non-negotiable a week deadline. So between the time where you are notified that you have made it to the second round and the time where we need to receive the project dossier. Project dossier is, of course, more extensive and will be also featuring mood boards if you want to include. And we have until the end of December. We will have different reading rounds to evaluate the project dossiers and reach a final decision. Something to add is that the project webpage should be, if you decide to apply, should be your main reference point next, of course, to like a direct communication line with us. But we prefer also, let's say, sensing how popular this edition will be, we always prefer that you consult the webpage first, and then, of course, if the question is not there or is not clearly responding your doubt, you can contact us at the HBF inbox. So this is a bit the general context of this co-development initiative with Brazil, which we're very proud, and here you have 2 email addresses. One is the general HBF inbox. The second one is my personal inbox, where you can address your questions or concerns, and also ask for feedback on whether, for example, it's the right time to apply, or maybe wait for future HBF rounds of other financing initiatives. So this is my presentation. I leave it, Josephine, or I close it and then we open the floor to the Q&A.
Yeah, I think it's fine if you want to take it down, because
Yeah.
we see each other better,
Yeah,
and we
I
can
do
always
that.
copy in the chat. Thank you, Ayumi, for
Yeah.
this very clarifying presentation. Already a number of questions in the chat. We are, however, trying to always answer the questions that are easy to answer, copying the FAQ section. So we're going to try to focus on questions that may address issues that are not included in the FAQ section. We will open for people to ask questions, but I think if I go down here, we just want to stress, but you have done it, but we will do it never enough, that yes, you need to have had a feature fiction project, at least one, and we are focusing here on feature and fiction. However, Laurent is asking if a medium length film that was selected by International Festival could be considered for his eligibility. That's one very specific question.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks everyone from the question. So we apply there it's the definition of mid-length under IFFR ecosystem. So 60 minutes is the defining let's say limitation. So if your film falls in that 60 minutes or plus, then it is eligible to apply, to be considered, sorry, as part of your track record.
To be eligible, great. And question now, and I will switch maybe to Portuguese, but I'll do it in English first. For RioFilme and Spcine, Ana Bovino is asking, what do you need to prove this residency to be from the city? Can maybe Leo and Liara address this question of Ana? You can do it in Portuguese if you feel like it. Or anybody from Spcine and RioFilme? No.
Can you repeat the question, sorry?
They're asking how do you consider someone to be from the city, being born in the city, living in the city, and what documentation do you request to prove it?
Actually, we have, I think, two ways. If it's born in the city and if lives in the city for more than 2 years, right, Mauricio?
I believe nowadays we're using the living in the city for at least 1 year.
At least 1 year.
1 year.
And what documentation do you ask for, like a comprovante de residência?
Yeah.
Okay. Spcine, any different take on this? Where is Spcine?
We usually take like at least 2 years living in the city. And it is the same thing. You need to have this no comprovante de residência. And if it's the company, is the CNPJ.
Okay, so Anna, I think we cleared that out. Karen is asking about what you consider. Can you expand a bit on what you consider an authentic Brazilian film? There are quote marks for authentic. I'm not sure it was on the slide, but maybe you want to expand on.
Can I come in on that one, maybe?
Please, Tamara.
Yeah, because I would need to leave in a couple of minutes, so I will use this moment to maybe answer that question and then also give a couple of other tips for our potential applicants. There was no authentic Brazilian film. We are talking of the authentic vision, and this is what we all use always in any of our funding schemes. It's basically to understand that the perspective really comes from the origin, and it's not someone talking from the perspective that does not belong to that cultural context. So we are never looking for a pre-baked stereotype or a pre-baked understanding of a national authenticity whatsoever. It's actually the other way around. We want to make sure, as much as human beings can do that, that the proposals that are coming in are artistically viable, interesting, they are clearly articulated for international readers to understand the originality, the scope, where is it coming from, and why this film today. So it's not about labeling any of the application, but the other way around is actually to really understand the vision. And this is why Ayumi stressed it, but I would put your double stress, as you often do, Josephine, is actually the vision and the intent is normally one of the most important applications in funds. It's not only HBF, to all dear colleagues and potential applicants, but really take your time in writing your artistic vision and intent of the project. This is very often the document that makes the final decision happen when there are many strong applicants, when the debate becomes heated. So intent is not a tick box for the fund, but it really is an important document which we all read very, very carefully. There was a question about co-production potential as well, and I would like to maybe, and then Ayumi will follow as needed. We said in the beginning that the funding envelope of this scheme, the pilot, and then we'll see for the rest and the other editions, is actually very much linked to the mandates of all the co-financing partners as well. And it's also important to say that this scheme is for those producers and for those stories, because producers run different strategies with different stories that they are producing, that really want to build an international co-production. And a great producer does not always need to build an international. Sometimes you can fundraise for a film on a national level. Sometimes it can be private public funding. So I would strongly advise, if you have a project which fits with all our eligibility criteria and you would really benefit to find international co-producing partners for it, then apply. Otherwise, if there are other ways of putting things together, if there are other ways of financing it, it's a lot of work on your side, dear colleagues, dear applicants, and it's also a lot of work on our side, being on the selection body. So if you feel this is not the right call, don't go there. That would be my very honest tip and a piece of advice, because there are other calls that your project belongs with better. And don't forget that right now this has been complementary to our other possible funds. If we are only talking about HBF, we have classic, let's say, development funding. There are schemes that will be relaunched from autumn onwards, and many of you would know HBF plus Europe, so on and so forth. There are other funds available internationally. It's not us only. Therefore, don't apply unless you're really sure that you want to structure an international co-production out of that very project. And the third thing, which I've read in between the lines of some of the very interesting questions here, is linked to how, what sort of questions do we want to ask? You can come back to, if you don't find answers to your questions on the website and through those tutorials, then you can always come back to us and send us an email. But don't ask us what sort of film you are looking for from Brazil, because we're not looking for pre-made films from Brazil. This is actually what we always try to avoid. But if you have a sensitive case, which very often is the case with us at HBF on different levels, if there is a specific point that you want to raise, feel free to ask it, but please don't ask it like 1 hour before the deadline, because it will not be possible. And we've seen it in many years of our operations, and I'm also trying to protect and position my team in that regard. Earlier you come to us, we'll do our best to respond to the concrete query, but we will never be able to tell you apply with this or don't apply with that on a storyline, because you are the holders of the artistic vision and you have your passion projects, which we are happy to read. So that's the take we have about it.
Thank you, Tamara. Very, very, very important points. And I would never stress that enough. Really, really only apply if you feel it's the right fit and the right time, which doesn't mean that there cannot be another moment that would be where you will make it. Maybe it's very important that it's the right moment for the project to apply. And there are questions about the credits. I think we have to stress, yes, I think if you are a co-director in the previous movie, does that count? I would imagine it does. And also, however, you have to have been a director. You cannot have been only screenwriter, right? It's another question.
Yes, correct. So let's say you are a duo director, your director duo, both of you have to be separately eligible. So let's say if you need to have both made at least one theatrically released fiction films, but if you are eligible separately, you can, of course, you're welcome as a duo to apply with your next project. And then the second question, Josephine, sorry, don't remember.
No, the one about having co-directed the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that counts. And there's a question about theatrical distribution. What does that exactly mean? Screenings in festival and or streaming TV, does that include?
Yeah, well, festival screening does include, but it has to be theatrical release. Here we count as cinema release. Oh, sorry, Josephine, I think you muted.
No, yeah, sorry, I was getting back to my screen to unmute myself. Okay. We have another question. I'm sorry if this is another question. When you filter most of the projects through a Rio São Paulo spectrum, you exclude a lot of potential projects from overlooked directors from all over Brazil. My point is, why in the case of co-direction, should both directors already have a feature film? Is that that this criterion basically excludes most Black directors from across the country, including those from Rio and São Paulo? Couldn't this specific criteria change? So in the case of a co-direction, should both directors already have a feature film?
Yeah, I mean, stressing, just checking if someone else wants to answer. No, I can get it. So, I mean, here I'm stressing again something that we stressed before, that is a pilot edition, and that we will evaluate actually some of the criteria afterwards, seeing how this selection process went, and learning from it. So at this moment, we cannot make an exception, and I completely respect and understand your point. That's why we managed to find a configuration which, of course, some of the grants are linked to naturally to our funding partners, so Rio and São Paulo cities. But we also have one grant which is actually open to all over Brazil. So it was a means for us in the discussion and fruitful configurations with the partners. And Tamara wants to add. Yeah.
Yeah, I would only want to underline that I fully acknowledge this question, and I'm pretty sure that our partners from Brazil do also. So if someone wants to come in, I would be very happy for that. But what I would like to say to our potential applicants, or some people that they've been on HBF radar already and are online now, you need to understand that this is done as the financing of this fund comes out of a certain organizations. They also adhere to certain national regulations, right? And they can be city, it can be whatever. Therefore, we had to come up together, as we are all partners here and we are the managing partner, to what is the most realistic and achievable in this pilot edition, so that make a plan somehow actionable. But for me personally, this point is very interesting. So I could already now say, and I'm pretty sure that colleagues also agree, that we could review this kind of feedback and this kind of important questions somehow. But right now, the regulation as it is established been also quite strongly advised by our partners from Brazil, because they need to fit their regulatory side as well. And we cannot, as we are not having an opportunity of an open financing, there is a cap. We also have to understand who are the typology of filmmakers with their experience already, that we can move forward towards international cooperation potential with this pilot. And I see that Leo would want to add as well. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add something, we'd love to have all the feedback that you can handle for us, because it's a pilot and we want to improve it. And as Tamara said, we have many regulations that we have to apply, to comply. But we really need your feedback so we can improve this program, not just with our cities and states, but with Brazil, with the Ministry of Culture and everybody. So we need your feedback to do that. Yeah. And I want to excuse myself. I have a meeting right now with the mayor, so I have to jump to another one. But you'll be there with Mauricio Urata, that it's our Director of Investment. And I just saw Danielle Celli, that it's from Rio Film Commission and our international department.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you
so
very,
much.
very much, all of you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have two questions that are about the production company. The criteria regarding the production company attached to the project. A company with a couple of feature films would have a higher score. So the experience of the company, is that a criteria? And also they're wondering if, besides the director curriculum and the production company based location, what other criteria are there for the production company? Oh wait, Liara wanted to say something, and I think maybe it was relevant for the previous question. So maybe, I'm sorry. Liara, you have the floor, sorry.
Não, tá tudo bem, Josefine. Eu só gostaria de fazer um comentário com relação às duas questões, que é algo recorrente, né, que nos perguntam. Então, primeiro, com relação ao espectro do apoio, né? Então, eu acho que, como a gente mencionou aqui, é um primeiro projeto, mas é também uma articulação de vários parceiros, né? Então, esses parceiros, que no caso, cada um traz as suas particularidades também em termos de atuação profissional, de financiamento, de estratégia de financiamento de projetos, de apoio, de fomento, para essa articulação, né? Então, eu acho que o que a gente tentou construir foi uma ação que desse conta, obviamente, né, das demandas de cada um dos parceiros, mas também cada um cedeu um pouco e a gente foi entendendo ali dentro da nossa margem jurídica e administrativa o que era possível ser proposto, né? Então, acho que isso é uma questão. Reforço aqui, então, por exemplo, o caráter da Spcine de ser uma empresa pública ligada à cidade de São Paulo, apesar de São Paulo ser uma cidade com dimensões de alguns países, temos essa limitação administrativa mesmo, né? Política administrativa. Então, para nós, para a Spcine, e no caso eu também entendo a RioFilme, a gente consegue entrar nesse projeto apoiando exatamente projetos que sejam estritamente da cidade de São Paulo, né? Porque são recursos provenientes da cidade de São Paulo. Então, queria esclarecer isso. E também falar com relação, né, aos questionamentos que a gente recebe. Mas por que só o segundo filme? Já tem que ter um filme lançado, tem que ser um filme lançado. Isso foram todos critérios que foram muito debatidos, internamente por todos nós, enquanto estávamos desenhando essa iniciativa, escutando a equipe do Hubert Bals, escutando as equipes de fomento, né, do Paradiso, RioFilme, a Spcine. E o que a gente entende aqui, que essa é uma ação para projetos que já têm um certo nível de maturidade, para profissionais que já têm um nível de maturidade. A gente está falando aqui de um investimento em projetos que vão ser preparados para uma coprodução internacional, né? Então, o que a gente tentou também foi estabelecer critérios que fossem equivalentes a isso, né? E vou reforçar aqui o que a Tamara disse. Nem todos os chamamentos, nem todos os editais são para todos os projetos. Acho que a gente precisa ter maturidade profissional para compreender isso. Tanto a Spcine, quanto Paradiso, quanto o RioFilme, tem outros chamamentos, tem outros editais com foco em outras estratégias de fomento. Então, só queria reafirmar isso, porque às vezes fica uma questão assim, não, vocês estão limitando completamente. Não é isso, a gente está pensando estrategicamente no que é importante para essa iniciativa. E existem outras iniciativas que cobrem outros campos do fomento. Então, era só isso que eu queria comentar, para também apaziguar, às vezes, um pouquinho os corações dos produtores, diretores e roteiristas, que estão aqui, mesmo dos que não estão aqui hoje.
Muito bom, Yara, muito bom seu ponto. Obrigada pela resposta. Voltando, switching back to English. So yeah, those questions, maybe Ayumi, you want to address questions about criteria for the production company?
Yeah, well, the criteria for the production company is that, well, depending on whether it is coming from, it will have 2 or 1 spot available in the final configuration of the 9 grants. And then we don't have specific criteria to others. I'm looking also at the question. Someone was asking if there should be a specific, I don't know, a letter of interest of another international co-producer. This is not required at this stage, and it also would be somehow counterintuitive in the context of a development support. So we just need for that company to exist and to be, if it's from São Paulo or RioFilme specifically, they need to, of course, provide the documentation. And of course, they will be asked to contribute to the project dossier via a producer statement, financing plan, financing plan, and the development budget, but no entry criteria as such. And Tamara, I think, wanted to add to that.
No, not to that, because you've exhausted that. I've been also scrolling the chat, and I would want just to offer to the public a couple of other tips maybe. There was a question about the project needs to be international itself to be considered for international cooperation potential. And I think that's not the right way of thinking. So I would be happy to dismantle that a little bit. It's not about us asking, or also in any other of our calls, it's not that we want the story itself to necessarily be international or have that sort of an element, because the stories have to have an international element and if they belong there naturally, but it's not up to our measurement in any way. It's more if you are a director, or if you are a producer and a team of a producer and a director, if you consider that you want to structure that project as an international co-production or co-production with some of the European countries, in this case, to be even more pragmatic and concrete, that would also mean when I was producing, or if I was to produce, then you think that you have different meetings, right? As a team, you say, okay, we can do maybe a post-production somewhere else, or maybe these are some of the key artistic heads of departments, for instance. I'm giving you a very concrete ideas that we could negotiate with a potential partner. Okay, if I'm going to Holland, what can I offer to a Dutch producer to make it a realistic and a potentially organic co-production, or the same for a French or for Norwegian. So this is what we mean. Sometimes in my work experience, I've seen so many fantastic projects coming from different parts of the world that actually do not need to inflate their co-production potential with 5 or 6 country co-production, and they can be sourced financed nationally, or can be 2 countries only that are in the neighborhood and are self-sufficient. In that case, my personal professional advice is don't push, because co-production is always naturally inflating the budgets. It is also becoming a bigger dealing as well. But if you are going for such a film, and where we're seeing so many, and we know so many great Brazilian films, of course, that are done structured in that way, then this is the right call for you. So that is also where the distinction needs to happen. It's about the producing strategy of it and not about the story.
Very important point. Thank you, Tamara. Specific questions. So Ayumi, the dossier needs a complete budget, yes or no?
We request a development budget and a financing plan.
Financing
So
plan.
it
It's not the
doesn't-
same thing, right?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. So it
Okay.
does not. And then I was looking at another question about the timeline for the grant.
Yeah.
So the grant will be delivered upon the contract signature, which should not be that should be very close to the selection announcement. So it will depend, and it will be very early in 2026 if we consider that the selection process closes at the end of December.
Wait, and so the requirements expected from the applicants, from the same person?
Yes. So these questions, I think the best is to email us and to ask it in writing to reach a level of detail. But we will require at some point the final script of the project. But the best is to email us to kind of see in detail what would that documentation entail, I would say.
Okay. Also, wait, before that, there was, the application will have to be made, Pedro Coutinho is asking, on the website. You talked about that, but just want to make sure.
Yes. So concretely, there will be an applying button in the HBF+Brasil webpage, which you will need to have an IFFR account if you don't have one. Otherwise, you just log in, and then you will see the different tabs that needs to be filled in. Again, you can pause the application. You can pause this operation and take it back later. But then by 15th of September, you will need to submit at the end. There will be a button to submit.
Okay, and complete script by next year, or is expected?
Well, that also, I think the best is to email us. I don't have a super precise question.
I'll come into it with a bit of a kind of maybe our joint experiences of what a complete script really means until the project is really moving completely forward. If you receive our financing, of course, there will be a set of contractual details. It's a development grant, so you have to be able to report to us and show us the progress and move your project forward somehow. We've been enough on this market to know that the final complete script as such never fully exists until you sometimes enter the shooting principal photography days. So we are very realistic people here. But if the question is where will be the line of strictness, the line of strictness will be on actually really progressing the project forward with the financial support that we will provide, and also help us to position those projects together, because what we will try to do, it's not going to be automatic, but whenever the projects will give us enough potential, we will try to push them through some other industry programs that IFFR and IFFR Pro offers from 2027 and onwards, right? So if you, let's say, another example of it is we have just now launched a new stream of activity called HBF Cinemart. So we are pushing forward the projects into which we already invested our development film fund. So of course, if you do good enough work and progress well next year, if you are the lucky winner of one of these development grants, that we will be in touch with you and we would offer you, maybe now it's a good moment for you to also apply to that specific stream where we will be positioning you with additional international producers. Or we fans talk to each other. There are a lot of international producers or festival people that are talking to us. So it's not about the word final, but it's about the real understanding of the progress. It's about a genuine next drafts, not only one, but some, and also understanding that the progress has been achieved. Very often we see this happening swiftly and in a normal tempo, that is in year 2, 3 sometimes. But we also know, and all of you know, that sometimes teams or filmmakers can take really a very long time on the development, and we would strongly advise not to come in with the project where you feel you cannot invest enough time to develop it in case you are successful. Yeah.
Good. Okay. I think we're getting close to the end. There was one. Well, no, it was answered. Sorry, Raquel was extremely quick. Wait, Lan was. If there's still time to ask. Okay, so this is the last question. Luis Assis, is there? We don't need to have the script ready to apply, correct?
Correct. Actually, we cannot accept the script also. So we will ask you a treatment. If you get to the selection phase 2, we will ask you for a treatment of 12 pages maximum. So at any time of the selection process, will you submit a script? The script will be, as Tamara said again, will be part more of the following of your project if you are granted the support.
Okay, and one last thing, and I think it ties into the other questions, but I guess we have to stress that maybe. So Ayumi and Tamara, the curriculum of the production company is not a criterion you will take into account in the sense of if
the
it
track
has
record.
more or less expertise. Yeah.
Yes, it won't be part. What's important is that it complies with the geographical requirement. Okay,
good. All right, I think this was extremely useful. I mean, I hope this was extremely useful. Thank you, everybody. It's really impressive to see we had 120 people at some point in this info session, and these are the people who could make it today. So it gives us a good idea of the tsunami that's about to come. So this is a joke, but to not make it into a joke, just think about your time in this process, and also the time of the selection committee. We want to have a really qualified process. So this means it's very important that the applicants also really think through their application, and if it's the right time, and do it very thoroughly. I think it will make everybody, the whole thing, more productive. So we hope we answered your questions. Again, we want to thank our amazing partners at HBF, RioFilme, Spcine, and all the teams, of course, that made this moment come true. We're really happy, and it's a celebration moment. And good luck to everyone. Again, HBF is it's kind enough to be very available, actually, and accessible through emails if you have any further questions. Yes, fingers crossed, and yeah, good luck to everybody. Thank you
very much from
Ayumi
HBF
and Tamara,
side as well. Thank you to Ayumi for the presentation and all of you for listening. And as we are the managing partner of this scheme, I would want to reassure all our colleagues that all the feedback that you already gave, we will be really putting it together. Somehow it's extremely valuable. putting up a new scheme, I always say it and will always say it in any place, is a collaborative effort. You know, if it was able to just get it delivered in the post, that so many people would not be working on it. So the feedback about limitations is extremely valuable, and any other constructive opinions that you have, feel free letting us know. And when next year we will be evaluating our process, we will take that into account. So I'm really listening into it, hearing it, and we will be all very open to discuss. And thanks for being here. It's a very impressive number of people, of course.
Thank you very much. Someone from Spcine and from RioFilme for closing remarks?
Just want to say that it's a pleasure to be part of this project from RioFilme. I believe it binds well with all the initiatives that RioFilme has in investing in the development of project development. I also want to add regarding the possible limitations of this call for entries that RioFilme has at this time if you're residing in Rio, has a production company in Rio, you have at this time a call for entries for project development with a much more broader aspect. Right now, the deadline is 27 of August, so you can still apply. So if you don't believe that the HBF Plus is the right fit, I invite you to look at our other call of entries, if maybe can fit better with more starting projects or projects that are not as mature as the ones that are going to be applied here. And of course, we are always open to the criticism and to evolve. And I hope this is a first edition that invites other partners from other places of Brazil. We do not want to restrict. We want to make it broaden and bigger and better. And we wish to be a part of it for as long as it happens. And I believe it's going to be a very, very long time.
Hopefully. Thank you. Yara?
Bom, eu também só quero agradecer, quero saudar todos que estiveram aqui com a gente hoje, que estão interessados. Para a gente isso demonstra, né, que estamos seguindo num caminho certo, e reafirmar também as palavras do Irata, de que o que nós queremos é, né, que essa iniciativa sirva para aproximar mais parceiros e para que esse projeto cresça numa próxima edição e se torne ainda mais abrangente em nível Brasil. E também agradecer a equipe Spcine, que esteve aqui acompanhando, que também está acompanhando todo esse processo, nosso diretor Ari Scapinha, nossa coordenadora Malila, também outros integrantes da equipe, Igor, enfim, que estão aqui acompanhando e trabalhando para que tudo isso, todas essas ações se concretizem. E desejar boa sorte a todos.
Obrigada. Então, obrigada pela presença de todos e até a próxima. Obrigada.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye.